Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Trinidad and Tobago, to Breakthrough again right here on WESN Content Capital. Now, in studio, now we know Sean is on via Zoom, but I actually have company in studio, right? Because we are talking about the Lydian singers putting on their concert, The Light Within, a Spiritual Celebration. And joining me in studio is the music director of the Lydian singers, Mr. Shurvone Brathwaite. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me.
And I'm actually going to, before I throw it over to Sean, because he's actually going to be conducting this interview, and you'll know why very, very soon. I actually do want to say this, at the top of the show, we started off by saying, you know, we've been doing Breakthrough for a year, and actually, it's actually coming up on the 1-year anniversary of your first time coming on.
Really?
Yeah, so this is actually the exact time period.
All right.
Yes, you know, as you can see, we have new background and things like that.
Yes,
so, you know,
yes.
think proper. But I'm going to throw it over to Sean because Shurvone is the current interim music director of the Lydian Singers, the senior choir, but I am the interim music director of the Lydian Tacomas. Fix your face, Sean. All right, so I'm actually going to throw it over to you, Sean, because you are going to go ahead.
Welcome back, folks, to Breakthrough from Tobago, and we're here interviewing our Lydian's representatives on the Trinidad set, of course. Now, reading on this concert here, and you know, it's kind of funny, Mark being involved, and yeah, this is just one of those things where everybody's so busy. There's always something else, so it's hard to keep up. So I'm now myself hearing about this concert recently just for this interview. The Light Within, a Spiritual Celebration. This is July the 27th, on Sunday, July the 27th, at the Church of the Nativity in Crystal Stream, Diego Martin, at 6 p.m. And this is to some extent not your typical choral concert. It's a spiritual, it's a religious concert, yes, so I'm sure there'll be mostly, if not completely, religious music. But this concert is meant not just to have a message of hope, but also it's meant to raise funds for a good cause. So, Shurvone, I don't know if you want to just give us the down low on this concert. You know, I'm not too sure if this is something that the Lydians regularly do, a concert at the end of July. So what was the genesis of this event?
Okay, thank you so much. So we don't typically have an annual July show. It has somewhat become something that's biannual. So therefore, let's say 2 years ago, we would have done a benefit concert at the same Church of the Nativity, right? And we also would have had, before that, not too long after, a spirituals concert, another one called Roots, the Rhythm Within. So the July shows sometimes happen coming out of an event, a national event, and most times it goes towards a charity. So therefore, this isn't the first time we're collaborating with the Church of the Nativity. 2 years ago, we were there supporting some youths who are currently doing their theological studies at the time and needed funds to travel. So therefore, the church reached out to us and we said, you know, why not? The Lydians is known for its community work. It's known for using music as the medium for our national service. And over the last 3 years, especially coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic and, you know, the choir being in existence for 46 years, we think it's really important right now to return to the community, to say thank you to the national community that supported us over the last 46 years, and also to put initiatives in place to support the youths of Trinidad and Tobago. So that is the reason why 3 years ago, so you kind of see that, you know, a lot of changes took place 3 years ago. After the pandemic, we established, through the vision of Dr. Leah Brown, our dearly departed former artistic director and music director, the Lydian Tacomas was formed, and that is the youth arm of the Lydians. So,
I mean, the Lydians choir, well, let me see it, there's a senior choir, there's Lydian Steel, and there's the Tacomas. An organization like this, of course, you pointed out, there have been some changes. Unfortunately, some very important people central to the organization passed away. Now, I've seen Lydians perform a few times. I went to, I guess you could say, a community show in a church in Port of Spain years ago. It's one of those things where I remember Graham Wilson would tell me there was one concert where it was everybody. It was Signal Hill, it was Love Movement, Marionettes, Lydians in Bmobile. This is years ago. I don't know if you were there. And Graham was very much appreciative. Everybody had their unique traits of what they were good at. And with the Lydians, to me at least, it was one of the choirs that really it brought the power in the vocals. You know, it was undeniable. I remember in one music festival, once the choir started, you just kind of felt hit with this audio symphony of voices, but it was not just some melancholy melody, something nice and light. No, there was some oomph behind it. You literally could almost see the passion in the air, right? That you were feeling in the sound. Now, for people who might not have seen a Lydian's concert in quite some time, of course, COVID would have interrupted everybody's normal patterns of where they spend their money and what would you say are the Lydians of today, now that you are the music director and you have had to take up the mantle after Dr. Brown, who we've had on this show, who has helped break through in her own way a lot, in its inception, now that you have the mantle and others have to take up the mantle, what is Lydians now with the new generation?
Right. For me, one of my greatest, I think, accomplishments since taking on the interim role November last year is bringing all three arms of the Lydians to the same level. So therefore, before, everyone knew the Lydian singers, they knew the choir. And then to a lesser extent, the Lydian steel being an accompanying ensemble. And then when we started the Lydian Tacomas, that was a whole other arm of the organization that we are adding. So now my drive is to have all three arms be equal, so therefore we strengthen the overall musicality of the organization. So therefore, one of the things I'm most proud of for this concert is the increased number of performances coming from the Lydian Tacomas as well as the Lydian Steel. So therefore, the senior choir, even though they may have less pieces, but it gives me room to do harder pieces because I'm spending the time we have in rehearsals on less music, but they are longer, they are more challenging. Also, with the increased number of performances by the Tacomas, Mark is able to push them a little bit further. And with the increased number of performances coming from the Lydian Steel, people start to see them as an organism within, the organization, rather just always taking a supporting role there in the pit. They're accompanying, and then, at the end of it, they play while everyone is walking out. So therefore, for this show, the Tacomas have, I think, four songs on their own. Steel has 4 as well, and then there are actually an increased number of collaborative pieces. So therefore, you get to see the full strength of the organization, the Lydians, coming forward.
Well, Mark, this is a good segue to speak to you about your role with Tacoma, or the Lydians. Wait, the Lydians Tacoma? Is that?
The Lydian Tacomas.
The Lydian Tacomas.
Yes.
So is it that your role is essentially similar to Shurvone's, just for the youth choir? I guess to some extent following his direction, but then you now have to kind of take the youth choir and help bring the actual day-to-day, sort out the details, teach the music, stuff like that. I mean, you're not necessarily a stranger to this. So what is it like having this role in Lydian Tacomas?
So I'd actually, to answer the question, I want to give a little bit of context first. So when all of the changes started happening within the organization, Shurvone and I were actually associate conductors, right? So he started off as being the music director of the Tacomas, and then we were working, and I was the senior accompanist for the Tacomas, and then obviously circumstances with Dr. Brown's passing, we had to, some shifting and some pivoting had to happen, right? And so, he said, listen, I need you to handle this. This is what I need you to direct them. I said, sure, not a problem. The good thing is we also have our junior accompanist, Luke Corby, who we've also had on the show, right? So it's a matter of things have been put in place so that in events that, in the most unfavorable of events, we can we are able to make it work. We are able to manage it. In terms of my role with the Tacomas, yes. So there's a lot of things that I have to do where, obviously, before with checking in with Shurvone and making sure, you know, this is the idea that I have, this is what I want to do, especially with regards to the pieces. You know, there's a certain vision. There's a certain vision that I would have, a unique vision for my own, right? That would be similar but also unique to Shurvone's own. So as you mentioned, the sound of the Lydians that you experience, that is Shurvone. I am very much a light and melancholy type of person, right? I am the nice, pretty music, but listen, I know how to give a wall of sound here and there, right? But no, it's increasing their skills, their musical skills. Obviously, when we started, we were still very much figuring it out, assessing each of their skills. So I've put certain other things in place in terms of, remember, these are not just a youth. Usually, there's a youth and a children's choir. This is a youth choir where children as young as maybe 6, 7. To teenagers up to 18. So this is very much a mixed group of members. The good thing is the older ones definitely do look out for the younger ones. They learn from them, and then the younger ones also learn from the older ones, right? So there's that interesting dynamic that is so beautiful to see. And so with the presence of the older ones, the most seasoned ones, the one experience who can absorb the information and the skills and grow their skills quicker, you see a growth from the younger ones, right, from the children, and they're able to now step up to the plate even more. So that there's this elevation of skill and talent. Some of the pieces that I would have included would test their skills in terms of how well they can independently hold their parts, right? So many of the songs that we had, there were a lot of moving parts, but now we're sort of just increasing that. We've also added a song that's not even in English, so which is a first for them. It's not even in a language. It's just a bunch of vocables that is supposed to convey a certain image of just different instruments and things like that. So they're getting used to things outside of their native language, right? Which is very much a principle in many music education sort of philosophy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's been the experience. It's been an amazing one just to see them grow, to see the junior companies grow as well, and it's been great. It's been great.
Well, Shurvone, back to you now, being the big cheese with three entities. You said you've managed to bring the other two up now, where to some extent everybody can stand on their own, but then there's collaborative pieces. Oh, yeah. So ironically, I have to ask, because I'm curious myself. Lydian singers by themselves, like I said, if there was one thing I would say to describe the Lydians, to separate them from the average Trinbagonian choir, that's the power vocals of the community, of the industry. Mm-hmm. And that's just with the Lydian singers. Now take a whole pan side and a whole junior choir and put all of that in one performance. You ever kind of feel the need to maybe throttle it back a little bit, like you have too much power now? You know, it's like, it's the opposite of Scotty now. You're telling the captain, we can't go to war. We have too much power, Captain.
I remember the first time I stood before the entire cast and gave a downbeat and got that wall of sound. I was shocked. I was like, oh God. But I was just so happy to have all three singing and playing together. Now, we haven't even discussed the drummers, because if you know Lydians, it's a very indigenous choir. We have drummers, be it African drums or Tassa, so therefore, when you sometimes add that on top, it could be oof. But the thing about it all comes down to the job of the conductor, to kind of be actively listening. I'm very fortunate to have experience both in the choral world and in the instrumental world, so therefore I'm able to listen to everyone and able to speak the different languages needed to communicate with the musicians. And the Lydian style is a very skilled ensemble. You can push them. So therefore they understand, for example, one of the pieces we are doing is Baba Yetu. They understand when they need to pull back. They understand when they need to come forward. So therefore you have that interplay of the voices coming forward, and that is what the audience want to hear. They don't want just to hear the choir and the still underneath. They want to hear that conversation in between the two. And then when you add soloists on top of this piece, then you get not only just a wall of sound, but you get color, you get texture, and you get dynamism. And that to me makes the choir extremely special, that we push the indigenous music, and that's why I think we are very fortunate to have the Indigenous Bank of Trinidad and Tobago be our title sponsor. It's somewhat validation of the work that we are doing.
Just to clarify, because this is I'm kind of disappointed. I have to miss this concert. I'll be in Tobago on the 27th. But Baba Yetu by Christopher Tin, correct?
What's wrong with you, dog? I'm a Tobagonian. Come back. Don't let me force you back. What's wrong?
I'm working. But this is Baba Yetu by Christopher Tin, right?
Indeed,
yes.
I
feel like I need, before I die, I have to see the full Lydians ensemble perform that song.
Exactly.
I definitely, that is bucket list stuff, folks. I'm not kidding. Because I knew the song before Mark. Oh, yeah, Lydians, we did that. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And the nerd in me had a moment of joy.
Yeah, the drummers rocked out for that, and they changed the entire color of the performance. And I remember in that first rehearsal, I saw the change in the singers, and the children, you saw their eyes light up.
You felt, I take it you felt it, right? Like it was a thing in the room where everybody kind of felt it.
Absolutely.
The audience realized, and the audience there was having a lot of fun.
I sometimes,
now, before we close, we have to rush this last thing in, because of course you're doing this as a fundraiser. This is for the Mary Care Center in Woodbrook to provide care for pregnant teenage girls, right, and their newborns. On April the 30th, it burned down. The whole center was destroyed in a fire.
Yes, and so they are currently trying to raise $3 million to rebuild. So tickets are available at the Church of the Nativity. You can also reach out to staff at the Mary Care Home. You can reach out to any Lydian member. You can also reach out to our ticket hotline. You can reach out to Margaret at 628-9255, extension 1130. I'll say it again, Margaret, 628-9255, extension 1130. Or you can reach out to Phaedra at 620-4717. That's 620-4717.
Lydian Singers Delight Within a Spiritual Celebration, as we discussed, Sunday the 27th of July at 6 p.m., Church of the Nativity, Crystal Stream, Diego Martin. Those are the numbers that Shurvone just sort of called out for us. And again, the Lydians proudly sponsored by Fair Citizens. Yes, back to you, Sean.
And just to say quick, it's $300 at the door, but it's $250 in advance.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure, folks, that Baba Yetu performance, I'm telling you, I haven't even heard it yet, and I'm telling you, I'm guaranteeing you, it's worth the $250.
It is.
That song alone is worth the $250.
That song alone is worth the $250.
Yes, absolutely. Shurvone, thank you for joining us in studio this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Sean, thank you for conducting this interview for me. I greatly appreciate it. Again,
what were you so worried about, Mark? It's fine. You're not testifying before Congress about, something you did or did not do.
Well,
we're just speaking to the people about the good work that you're part of. That's all.
Of course.
I'm not getting it.
Yeah, don't get involved. But I have to show appreciation. See that at the top of the show you said something about late appreciation and not mattering. Okay, so I have to say it. Okay, regardless of that. But thank you.
That's true. But
yes,
you're right.
Thank you.
Stefan, you missed a lot.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Trinidad and Tobago, this has been Breakthrough. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned all the time on WESN Content Capital. Stay tuned for more. This has been Breakthrough. Have a good week. Bye-bye.